Welcome to Davey's Take. Today we're talking about Superman, the new Superman film that's been just a delight to talk about online. So Superman isn't just another Superman movie. There's a lot riding on this film. If you didn't know, there was a DC universe before this, and it was ran by Zack Snyder. It was very polarizing. There are fans that would take a bullet for those movies. And there are other fans that just didn't really like the film and they wanted to see something new. Personally, I lean more towards with that camp. I thought the original version of the DC Universe got really convoluted. No one really knew what was going on. I don't really like those Zack Snyder, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman. I did like the Justice League, Zack Snyder's version of it. But overall, I felt like they did need a reset. So they went and got James Gunn to be like the new Kevin Feige of DC. He directed the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He helped produce Infinity War and Endgame. And fans online were really just peachy about that. But for me, I was excited for this film. I like James Gunn a lot. I love those Guardians movies. I think he's a really creative and just weird director. I really loved his Suicide Squad. And like I said, I just felt like DC did need a reset. And Warner Brothers apparently felt the same way because they were on board with this reboot or reset of this universe. And like I said before, there's a lot riding on this film. If this film is a disaster, it just feels like Warner Brothers will never get this right. And if it's a complete success, we might have a new MCU type franchise. So yeah, I was looking forward to this movie just because I want to see a new Superman movie and because of James Gunn. But I can't lie, that detail about Warner Brothers putting their chips on this movie also makes it a little juicier. So how was Superman? I'll be honest, it's a lot to process. But it's been a while since I've sat in a superhero movie and it really felt like a Saturday morning cartoon has just come to life. This film was just so much fun. There's never a dull moment in Superman. It's very colorful. There's so much shit going on, like so much weird and creative shit. But for the most part, it really works. This is one of the more creative and unique superhero movies I've seen, especially for a character like Superman. I feel like everyone knows Superman, but this take on him is something I feel like only James Gunn could really achieve. And I gotta say, I really love James Gunn's tone for this movie. It's been a while since we've had a Superman movie where it feels like Superman. Like, there's so many scenes here where he's just saving people. At one point, he saves, like, a squirrel. Like, it felt like I was just watching, like, a classic superhero movie. Like, it reminded me of those Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, where there's scenes where Spider-Man is swinging around and he saves someone from getting hit by a bus. And I feel like a lot of superhero movies, even the good ones that we've gotten lately, have kind of forgotten about, those little scenes like that. And this movie, Superman, is filled with scenes like that, and it just felt really refreshing. David Cornsweet was great here as Clark Kent, Superman. I know people online have been honestly pretty ruthless about his casting and what he's going to bring to this franchise, but he is probably the best Superman since Christopher Reeve. I haven't seen the TV show, so I can't talk about that. But I do think he's a better Superman than Henry Cavill. And I love Henry Cavill. I thought he was a good Superman too. But David Cornsweet brings this humanity to Superman. And this like dorkiness to him too, where he feels like a real character. And when shit's happening in this movie, you can feel the emotion. You can feel how it's really affecting him. And he grows as a character throughout the movie. But he also nails like the Superman things that make Superman Superman. Just trying to do good. And he has this great monologue about being human and what that really means and all of that. And that's the type of stuff that I've been missing from these Superman movies. And I just thought he did a great job. He's very funny, but at points very badass. He feels very hopeful. Him and James Gunn coming together to tell this version of Superman, I thought they really nailed the tone that I think people were really missing for Superman. I also loved Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. It feels like she nailed that character. The badass shit she does, the wittiness. I thought she was absolutely great. I also love Krypto. I love dogs, and Krypto was a scene stealer at some points. He is adorable, also very funny. And I love Krypto's dynamic with Superman. It's just something great to see. I also really like Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. You can feel his hatred for Superman, but you believe his analytical scheme on things. And also, he's very funny at parts, which is something I didn't expect.
And as a Cleveland guy, it was cool to see a lot of Cleveland landmarks in this movie. I feel like a lot of films are filmed in Cleveland, but we never see anything Cleveland in the final movie. But James Gunn recognized that Superman was created in Cleveland, so it was cool to see an emphasis of showing things like the Guardian Stadium. I'm wearing a Guardian shirt now, and the arcade and things like that. I thought that was awesome. I know I'm biased, but I thought that was really fucking cool.
And I alluded to it earlier that this film feels like a Saturday morning cartoon come to life, and it really does. This feels like a lived-in universe with all these superheroes, and there's just these sequences where they're fighting and coming together, and it feels like Superman, the animated series, or anything like that, just on the big screen with real people. So that type of fun and the colors and that type of stuff I think really fits this film and this universe moving forward. I'd love to see more films in this universe for sure. So I think from that standpoint, the film does a good job of setting things up for this universe, but I do have some questions of where this is really gonna go. I also think the story has good emotional beats, some good character development. We see our characters go through certain things, and there is emotional payoff. And like I said before, it all kind of goes back to James Gunn and the team understanding what makes Superman so special and so great. So overall, it did its job. But this film isn't perfect. It has some issues. I think specifically, this film feels like it's cramming so much into this 2-hour runtime. There are certain story beats that I think needed to be fleshed out more. It needed time to breathe. This movie is about 2 hours long, and I even looked to someone to my right and be like, oh, I'm glad we're getting a superhero movie that's not 3 hours long. But this film could have been 2.5 hours long, maybe 2 hours and 20, to flesh some of these things out, because there's some great stuff here. And we're being introduced to a new universe, a new era of DC, and it's not like Iron Man where it's the beginning. We're kind of thrown into the middle of it. So I think the start of this universe is here. We are here. I think they should have maybe put this story right here. Because like I said, there are a lot of things that feel rushed in this movie because they're trying to cover so many different things. They're trying to tell a story for Superman, because it's not necessarily an origin story for Superman, but it's a standalone movie, but we have all these other characters. We're also fleshing out a universe, and you could definitely feel the film being overstuffed. So a lot of things happen too quickly. The film needed to slow down a little bit, and I had these concerns going into this film because I thought the trailers looked really good, but some of the shots and the special effects looked a little shoddy. I get it's a style, and there are shots in here that look great. It literally looks straight out of a comic book. It's colorful. It looks awesome. But there are definitely shots in here that the special effects look really wonky. The camera work, the framing of things. And you could argue it's kind of their style because it's the same cinematographer and I think special effects team as the Flash movie. And I thought that film had very bad special effects. And this film sometimes runs into those issues. So I don't even think the camera movements or anything like that is bad, or necessarily the shot itself. I just think there are things that need to be polished up a little bit, or maybe reframed, because things look a little off at some points. And I will say, this isn't an issue with the movie, it's just more of a warning. If you're a Snyder fan, if you made it this long, because I assume you turned off my review when I said I didn't like the Snyder movies and I was excited for this film, I'm almost positive you're going to hate this movie. I kind of went into this movie thinking Snyder fans are going to hate this film no matter what. I left this film going, yeah, I can see Snyder fans not thinking that was good at all. And that kind of goes into my final point about this film. I'm very curious to see what people think, because this isn't your typical Superman superhero movie. It feels very weird. There are a lot of strange elements in here that I really don't know everyone's going to vibe with. So that's kind of my warning going into this film. If you're expecting your typical superhero movie here, you're going to be really surprised. So I could totally see a lot of people really not liking this film because it is sort of out there. But for me, I thought most of this movie really worked. I think one of the most important things this film needed to do was bring back the excitement for some of these DC characters and a new universe. And I think this film absolutely does, and it does it for its most iconic character. I feel like James Gunn has made a movie that feels like a Superman movie. David Corenswet is a great Clark Kent who really embodies the spirit of Superman. This feels like a comic book or a Saturday morning cartoon come to life. There are so many characters. It's so colorful. It is so much fun. Like I said before, there's not a dull moment. There's not one point I was bored in this film. There's so much shit going on, sometimes to its downfall, but overall, I do think this is probably the best Superman movie I've seen since the Christopher Reeve Supermans. And no, I'm not talking about 3 and 4, but it's just crazy to think that, in my opinion, because I didn't really like Man of Steel, I know that movie means a lot to a lot of people, but for me, we haven't really gotten a good Superman movie since Superman 2. And I think we finally have one now. I'm going to give Superman 8 Davey Days. I am so fascinated and curious to see how fans are going to react to this film. Because like I said, it's very out there, but the film has already been so polarizing, it hasn't even been out yet. And like I said before, there's so much riding on it. So I'm just going to sit back and I might re-download Twitter and just see people just eat each other alive. So, Superman. Let me know what you guys thought of it once you've seen it. I'm curious to hear. And thank you so much for watching. Click here to see more Do Your Dave's Takes.